it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today, focusing in on a viewer question, and that is the experience of really sort of phobias or depersonalization, a feeling of dissociation, or even very much symptoms of PTSD after experiencing narcissistic abuse. Now, the feeling of derealization is a sense that your own feelings, perceptions, sensations in your body are not your own, or that you're kind of separate from them, or you're very uncomfortable by them, or really almost feeling like you're not leading your own life, or that your feelings, your ideas, your thoughts, your beliefs are not significant. And this can be very scary. It can be very agitating. It can create create a lot of anxiety, confusion, depression. Mostly though anxiety, and then a sort of deflating, a shutting down. So we see a lot of imbalance, basically going on to cope after narcissistic abuse, psychopathic abuse, and really sort of processing all that psychological trauma, emotional abuse that had occurred as a result of that relationship. And so I want to really discuss here the origin of it so you can understand the cause of it and realize the good news that this will get better with time, and it will get better with understanding. And I really do feel that awareness of what is going on will help you to relieve some of these very frightening experiences or symptoms, feelings, and then be able to release these and let these go and proceed more or less what you're feeling as normal, the real you, the good life, feeling at ease, feeling peace, feeling safe again, feeling like you can pursue the things that make you happy and not living just to please this person, this inauthentic person, which had really sort of divested you of your happiness and your own sensations, your own perspective. And so when we talk about narcissistic and psychopathic abuse, it's very much that we had lived momentarily under the power, under the manipulation, under the exploitation, and a heightened sense of importance of this other person. So the narcissist was able, the psychopath was able to position themselves in a sort of perspective of them being extremely important, bigger than life, very instrumental to our happiness, because within the love bombing phase we had felt this joy. People experience this feeling of having their prayers being answered by this person, having so much fun, these wild sexual escapades, really feeling like this person wined and dined them, and life just took on this whole level of bliss and euphoria, and they just had this heightened arousal, a lot of energy, maybe a change up of their schedule, change up of their life they felt was at a whole new level, and maybe they, in the love bombing, this person got you gifts, had you think about things that you never thought before, so you thought, wow, I'm just overcome with joy with this person. And that is the experience of the love bombing phase. So what ends up happening though is that people in that phase, they begin to, as well as in the psychological abuse, if there's a trauma element in the beginning, like we see with narcissistic parents, where there's that love bombing is almost a fear bombing. So the fear bombing and the love bombing can be kind of interchanged. It really depends on the relationship. But in the love bombing, what ends up happening though is that the individual who is being targeted, who's being really assessed for that relationship, that person is essentially seeing how much they can get away with in terms of depersonalizing them, getting them to really abandon their own needs, really abandon their own perspective, really abandon their own values, abandon their own self-interest for the sake of the relationship. So especially in psychopaths, they very much understand that they have a very different perspective, a very different approach to the relationship. It's a very calculated, very deliberate sort of assigning of where on the spectrum is this person that I can manipulate them. In other words, how much can I distract them with texts? How much can I distract them with depersonalizing names? Can I minimize them in certain ways? How can I change really their thinking about things? The way that they get so excited, when I call them these nicknames and I depersonalize them. Can I depersonalize them through breaking down their boundaries, through constantly being in the center of attention for them, where I see that I've been able to provide them little gifts, little quips, things of that nature that really gets this person to go, oh my gosh, wow, this person is so fantastic, they're so amazing, and you sort of abandon really what's in your best interest for sake of, usually it's a lot of sexual escapades, that love bombing. So you're getting now this rouse, this sort of dopamine high, this oxytocin high, and your pheromones are sending vibes out there that you're really interested in this person, and so this love bombing is beginning, and you tend to annihilate your own boundaries. Yes, when new relationships take form, we're going to have new experiences. We're going to have new feelings. We're going to have new, new activities, things that we're going with this person. I'm really talking about when a narcissist is able to position themselves as really more important in your life than you are in your life. So a narcissist has a way of doing this through their charm, through their pervasive honeymoon support in the beginning. So this person, generally is able to take on and take over your mindset, and they do this in that love bombing stage, where a lot of people really tend to, I would say, interpret or perceive or assign meaning to the relationship which is not there. So they tend to give them this exaggerated sense of importance in their life because of the heightened sense of self-importance that this person presents. So they tend to, just by virtue of their charisma, by their their grandiose statements, their grandiose thoughts, the way that they tend to pick you up, sweep you off your feet. It really is very disorienting. And the disorienting can be very, very enjoyable, or very, a lot of very pleasurable in the beginning. But yet, they tend to break people down when this is done in a very calculated manner, and it's done without a sense of importance or really respect of that person. So, a sociopathic statement would be, I've respectfully disrespected you. So psychopaths and narcissists, they know what they're doing. They see the control that they have over people. And so it's not like on an even keel. It's not on an even it's not on even footing. There's always an assessment of a hierarchy that they are promoting within themselves, and then they get you, in essence, to agree to. So unbeknownst to you, it's not like you immediately say, I'm giving up, I'm giving you permission to make me feel less than, inferior, and so I'm going to continue in our relationship so that I can be manipulated and controlled by you. So it's not like you just outright say, yes, I give you the permission to make me feel inferior. It's a very much an unconscious, a subconscious entry or experience in the relationship, which you tend to kind of keep muffled underneath the surface. But unbeknownst to you, you're assigning this very superior, bigger than life sort of position to this narcissist or psychopathic abuser, which they really feed off. They can tell when you are giving it up to them, when you're abandoning yourself, you're abandoning certain self needs to them, and they then tend to violate your boundaries physically, violate your boundaries emotionally, violate your boundaries psychologically. So they, in essence, are overtaking you, overwhelming you, really taking over your mindset through this gaslighting, through this brainwashing, through the cognitive dissonance, all the various tactics that we discuss here. So you, in essence, are feeling like you are just a part of them. You are just meant to, respond to their needs to keep them happy, and react very reactivity based, out of a sense of fear, obligation, and guilt. So you tend to be strung along, I want to say is the word, but what really ends up happening oftentimes is a severe feeling of depersonalization, which is a feeling that your opinions, your perspective, your physical space does not matter. It does not exist. You don't have a sort of position or a sort of reality anymore. They've taken over your experience of reality through their perfectionist standards. Through they do it in a number of different ways, and it varies per person. And each couple and each situation, but oftentimes sometimes there's a very unrealistic, heightened sort of expectation that this narcissist or psychopathic abuser will, sort of draw you into. So, you are constantly you never feel good enough. So you don't ever get a chance to kind of be in your body, be at peace, be at rest, be at contentment with them, and be, sort of spontaneous in feeling, coming from that sense of security. Because the narcissist, in many of their approaches, and many of their abuse, they will cause you to not allow you to shine. They won't allow you to be yourself, to have your own accomplishments. So they will depersonalize by twisting things around. So you're not able to live from your own sense of accomplishment, your own goals, your own values, perspective. You, in essence, give these up when you're being depersonalized by a narcissist abuser, and realize that they get a lot of feeling of importance and empower when they're able to do this to you. So it's not a nice thing to have to go through, but realize that the awareness of this and how they had overwhelmed you was a manipulation tactic to, in essence, keep you really under their guise of control. But it very much is that. It is a guise of control. It has nothing to do, with your personal power, because your personal power still exists all along. You just have to identify and claim it, and realize the impact that they had overwhelmed your system, that they had derailed you, caused you to feel insignificant, caused you to feel unimportant, but yet get this sexual arousal at the same time. So in essence, I liken it to almost an arousal to your self-destruction. So that's why it's very important to unplug, own your own perspective, own your peace, and realize that it's okay to exist and have your own values and not be attacked for having your perspective, not being attacked for having your boundaries, not feeling like you have to explain and justify yourself for being the person that you are. Because this narcissist abuser, would have you believe that there's something inherently flawed with you, which is not the case. So really refrain from these overwhelming thoughts. Get a chance to, work on letting go of the overwhelm, letting go of the anxiety, letting go of the sort of constant concern about them for this entity, this person, this manipulator outside of you, and realizing that they're just really, looking as a way to keep you stuck. Learn to identify and their tactics. Learn to identify how they try to, bring you back in, or even through the intrusive thoughts. Realize that they're still trying to have this extended influence on you, and realize that that is just the aftermath of somebody trying to take over your perspective, and that you had temporarily engaged in this experience with somebody who sought to overwhelm you, but now release that abuser. Let them go and explain to yourself, I no longer need to be overwhelmed. I no longer need to live in anxiety. I no longer need to live in fear at the hands of this abuser. This person had manipulated me. They have manipulated other people. They will continue, but they're not continuing with me. If they're going to continue to live their life, I release them. I'm not responsible for their evolution. I'm not responsible for their happiness. I'm responsible and accountable to myself. And that's really all that matters. And I'm now reclaiming my own safety. I'm now reclaiming my own greatness. I'm reclaiming and living my own passion in life. I'm now getting it done for myself, and I'm able to fulfill my goals and kick some butt, live the good life, and restore that sense of good life, peace, contentment, happiness, and joy that I derive and I have from the inside. And I'm no longer allowing this person to rob me of my happiness, my joy, my personhood. I'm no longer allowing them to impact me and influence me in any sort of negative way. I'm not living under that lower nature with which they want me to live. I'm now living by my higher nature, which is my own greatness, my own happiness, my own joy, my own prosperity, and really living in that abundant state versus the lack that I'm not good enough, which the abuser would hitherto have me believe. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.